So, have you ever heard the term multibagger get thrown around? It's kind of like the holy grail for investors, right? That one investment that could multiply your money over and over again. Well, today we're diving deep into one company that's getting that exact label, Insolation Energy. And let me tell you, their ambitions are absolutely massive. And look, the analysis we're breaking down here is not messing around. It calls this thing a high-conviction multi-bagger potential stock. Wow. I mean, that is about as bold as a claim gets, isn't it? So let's unpack that. What's the thinking behind a bet this big? Okay, before we get lost in the weeds, let's just be super clear on what we're talking about. A multi-bagger is just a fancy way of saying an investment that could give you a return of, well, many bags of money, many times what you put in. You know, a 10-bagger is a 10x return. So yeah, the potential upside we're talking about here is huge. All right, so where does all this confidence come from? Well, it all starts with the numbers. And these aren't just good numbers, they are explosive. I mean, just look at this. We are not talking about a slow and steady climb. This is a rocket ship. The company's revenue shot up from 279 crores in FY23 to a projected 1,334 crores in 25. To put that in perspective, we're talking about going from around 33 million US dollars to over 160 million in just 2 years. That is the kind of insane growth that makes everyone sit up and pay attention. And if you think that's wild, hold on, because it gets crazier. The long-term goal for management is to hit 8,600 crores by 2028. That's over $1 billion US dollars. Let that sink in. We're talking about a potential six-fold jump from where they are now in only 3 years. It's just staggering stuff. So the big question is, are these just numbers pulled out of thin air? Nope. This isn't just wishful thinking. This massive financial growth is supposed to be powered by a massive physical expansion. They're planning to go from 1 gigawatt of production capacity all the way up to 11 gigawatts for solar modules and cells by 2028. That's the engine that's supposed to make this whole thing go. But you know, a company like this doesn't just grow in a bubble. A lot of its success depends on what's happening around it. So let's talk about the environment they're in, because it's a big part of this whole story. It really feels like Insolation Energy is catching a perfect wave here. I mean, India is going all in on renewable energy right now. You've got all these government programs creating massive demand. And then, get this, the company has a pipeline of potential projects just in its home state of Rajasthan, worth over 10,000 crores. The wind is definitely at their back. And it's not just about the market either. You gotta look at who's putting their money where their mouth is. The company's own founders, the promoters, are actually buying more of their own stock. That's a huge sign of confidence. Plus, they've pulled in over 400 crores from big-time institutional investors. And moving up to the main stock exchange, that's basically them graduating to the big leagues, getting access to a whole new world of capital. Okay, so far, this story sounds almost too good to be true, right? Explosive growth, perfect market conditions, everybody's backing them. But, and this is a big but, no investment story is complete without a reality check. With high growth comes high risk. And here's what could trip them up. First up, just plain old execution risk. It's one thing to have a plan for massive expansion. It's another thing to actually pull it off on time and on budget. Then there's the debt. This growth isn't free. It's being paid for with over 1,300 crores in loans. Can they grow fast enough to handle that? Third, receivables. Basically getting paid by your customers. If people start paying late, that can really squeeze your cash. And finally, you can't forget competition. Cheaper imports, especially from China, are always a threat to your profits. So you've got this incredible story of potential on one hand, and these really serious risks on the other. It's a classic battle. So where does that leave us? How do you weigh these odds and come to a conclusion? And really, it boils down to this. On the left, you've got the bull case. Mind-blowing revenue growth, a massive tailwind from the whole sector, and solid backing from insiders and big investors. But on the right, you have the bears lurking. Huge execution challenges, a big pile of debt, and fierce competition. The whole investment thesis hinges on which of these two sides is going to win out in the end. So what's the final call from the analysis we're looking at? Well, it sees all the risks, for sure. But here's the kicker. The thinking is that even if the company kind of falls short, even if they only hit, say, 70 or 80% of their insane targets, the upside is so massive that the risk-reward trade-off still looks really, really good for someone willing to play the long game. And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? This whole story is a fantastic case study. It makes you think, when does something that is clearly a calculated risk actually become a high conviction opportunity? Finding the answer to that question, well, that's what investing is all about.